14 degrees. That is how cold it will be in Nashville, Tennessee tomorrow morning. Is your city about to experience the coldest stretch in over a decade? Right now, 847,000 people are sitting in homes with no power, temperatures in the single digits, and what's coming over the next week is going to make this situation even more dangerous. Stay with me for the next 30 seconds because I'm about to show you the exact timeline of when this next Arctic blast hits your specific city. Drop your city in the comments right now, and I'll give you personalized timing in tomorrow's update. Seriously, comment your location. I'm reading every single one. All right, here's what you need to know immediately. Atlanta, you're looking at Sunday morning for the next big cold shot. Memphis, Saturday night into Sunday is when things get serious. Little Rock, you just broke a snowfall record from 1899, and now you're about to deal with another potentially significant winter storm next weekend. Dallas, 16 degrees tomorrow morning. Miami, and yes, I'm talking to you, South Florida. You could actually see temperatures flirting with freezing by Sunday morning. That's how far south this Arctic air is pushing. Now here's where things get interesting. We just came through one of the most historic winter storms in modern American history. 2,300 miles wide at its peak. Over 230 million Americans under weather alerts at the same time. That is a record. 21 people confirmed dead across 14 states. And some folks won't see their power restored for weeks. But here's what nobody is talking about. The pattern that created this monster? It's not going anywhere. In fact, we might be looking at round 2 in just 5 days. Let me show you what's happening right now with these temperatures because this is honestly concerning. Tomorrow morning, we're expecting 5 degrees in Nashville. 5. Clarksville, Tennessee, 7 degrees. Jackson, Tennessee, 10 degrees. Lexington, Kentucky, 5 degrees. Louisville, 7 degrees. And here's the kicker. It's actually going to be colder in Kentucky and Tennessee than it will be way up in Iowa and Nebraska. Why? Because we've got so much snow on the ground acting like a giant refrigerator. That snow cover is reflecting sunlight, preventing any warming, and just keeping this Arctic air locked in place. Wait until you see this next part. The entire state of Pennsylvania got absolutely hammered. We're talking more than 20 inches of snow on the ground in many locations. Northern New Jersey, incredible totals. New York City saw significant accumulation. Up into Connecticut, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, Boston, we were forecasting potentially 2 feet of snow. We're this close. By the end of today, with residual snow squalls still coming through, we might actually exceed that 2-foot mark. Tomorrow morning up there, 9 degrees, upstate New York, get ready for brutal cold. But here's what's really crazy about this. Stick with me because at minute 5, I'm showing you the one region that could see an even bigger snowstorm than what we just experienced. We're not done yet, not even close. Let me talk about the southern states for a second because this is where the real humanitarian crisis is developing. Mississippi got hit with its worst ice storm since 1994. Nashville lost nearly half of its power grid due to 3/4 of an inch of ice. 3/4 of an inch! That doesn't sound like much, but when you're talking about ice accumulation on power lines, that is catastrophic. And now these people are facing single-digit temperatures with no way to heat their homes. Shreveport, Louisiana, 16 degrees tomorrow morning. That is life-threatening if you don't have power. Now here's the thing. We might not get much above freezing in Nashville for a while. I'm looking at the forecast, and I'm all the way out to February 2nd, and we still haven't seen an above-freezing temperature. We might get a little bit above 32 degrees during the day on Tuesday, but then we drop right back down to around 15 degrees Wednesday morning. During the day Wednesday, we might make it back above freezing again. Maybe. This is a prolonged cold snap. We're not talking about a day or two. We're talking about potentially a week or more of below-average temperatures across the entire Tennessee Valley, the Ohio Valley, and the Great Lakes region up into the Northeast. And once again, I want to stress something important. If you're in one of these affected areas, if you have elderly neighbors, if you know people who might be vulnerable, please check on them. This kind of cold is dangerous. It's not just uncomfortable. It can be deadly. All right. Let's jump into what everyone wants to know. What's coming next? Remember to drop your city below. I'm giving personalized forecasts in tomorrow's video. Now, we're definitely going to have another clipper system coming through the Great Lakes as we go into Tuesday. That's going to bring even more snow to the northeast. It's not going to be significant like what we just saw, but some places will pick up a couple of inches. And it's also going to turn on the lake effect snow machines again. Western Michigan, Northeast Ohio, Northwest Pennsylvania, a lot of upstate New York. Get ready for another thumping of snow over the next several days as this cold air just runs over the lakes. But wait, here's where I need you to really pay attention. Another big, anomalously high-pressure system is building up in Canada right now. The European model is showing another huge blast of cold air that might actually rival what we just experienced. And, of course, it does link up with a storm system in the Gulf. This one looks a little bit more dynamic than what we just saw in terms of its potential power. It's definitely smaller in overall size, but here we go. Another potential winter storm impacting parts of the South as we go into Saturday, January 31st. Let me walk you through the timeline on this. This actually starts back on Thursday, January 30th, as some rain in Louisiana, some snow showers in the Ohio Valley. Everything links up in phases over the Appalachian Mountains. And once again, we see a potentially significant nor'easter starting to form as we go into Saturday, January 31st. We're looking at heavy snow in the Piedmont region of the Carolinas up into the Appalachian Mountains. And then, boom! This turns into what could be a major blizzard for the Northeast as we go into Sunday, February 1st. Now, do I think this is going to happen exactly like this? Probably not. But this is a very strong signal for a major winter storm. And here's why you need to understand this. 6 days before our last storm, we were seeing these exact same signals. The pattern was setting up. The models were showing it. And it verified almost exactly like we said it would. We're now 6 days out from this next potential system, and we're seeing very similar signals. In just 2 minutes, I'm revealing the shocking differences between what the American model and the European model are showing, and why that matters for your specific city. Don't pay too close attention to the fine details right now, but there is absolutely going to be another storm that we have to track with another big-time blast of cold air coming down into the southeast. And this one could potentially be even more intense than what we're experiencing right now. Let me show you what I'm seeing. Right now, the European model is showing this as a major snow producer for the interior Carolinas, Kentucky, Tennessee, West Virginia. As of this moment, it looks like the focus area should be the immediate coastal region from the Carolinas up through the Northeast. But here's the problem. This thing will shift back and forth hundreds of miles over the next couple of days. So, once again, don't get too emotionally attached to any single model run. And here's where the model disagreement comes in. If we look at the GFS, the American model, it does show that same big blast of cold air coming down, and it does show a storm, but it's definitely a lot farther east. It puts a lot less snow on a lot less people. It still forms a pretty strong nor'easter-type storm, but it just stays out to sea for the most part. That's a massive difference from what the European model is showing. Now, I could be wrong here, but based on what I'm seeing, I'm leaning more toward the European solution right now. And you know why? Because if we remember this last storm, the GFS was kind of terrible at figuring out where the storm was going to be. It was wrong the whole time. The European model was definitely much closer to being right. So, I don't know how much stock we should put into the GFS just yet, but it's definitely worth mentioning as we start tracking our next immediate storm. Keep watching because the most important part is coming up. This affects everyone, even if you don't get snow. Let me talk about the cold air that's coming with this system because that's actually the bigger story for a lot of you. We're going to continue to have this ridge trough pattern where the west coast is on the opposite side of what we're dealing with on the east. So if you're in the southwest, get ready for mid-70s pretty much constantly, maybe even reaching 80 degrees from Los Angeles down to Tucson. And this pattern is going nowhere anytime soon. We're going to have much below average temperatures in the entire southeast through 10 days from now. We could be well into the beginning of February and still be talking about below average temperatures all the way down to the southern part of Florida, especially in Alabama, the Carolinas, up into the mid-Atlantic. And we're going to continue to be warmer than average in the west. Everybody west of the Rockies is going to be having fun in the sun pretty much. All right, let me give you city-by-city breakdowns because I know that's what you're here for. Let's start in the deep south because you guys are really dealing with this. Mobile, Alabama. Tomorrow morning, you're looking at 18 degrees. That's brutal for Mobile. Pensacola, Florida, 19 degrees. Tallahassee, 21 degrees. And here's your concern if you're in these cities. It's not just the cold. It's the cold plus the fact that your infrastructure is not built for this. When we get temperatures like this in the deep south, pipes burst, power grids struggle, and people don't have the winter gear they need. How about you folks in Mississippi with those incredible ice totals? Jackson, 10 degrees tomorrow morning. Tupelo, 13 degrees. Oxford, 13 degrees. Greenwood, 16 degrees. You just went through a historic ice storm. Many of you are still without power, and now you're facing this extreme cold. That's a tough combination. Let me move over to Louisiana. New Orleans, you're looking at 24 degrees tomorrow morning. That's cold for New Orleans. Baton Rouge, 22 degrees. Shreveport, 16 degrees. Monroe, 14 degrees. Lake Charles, 23 degrees. And unfortunately for you guys, this cold is going to stick around. We're not warming up quickly. Texas. Let's talk about you. Dallas-Fort Worth, 16 degrees tomorrow morning. Houston, 27 degrees. San Antonio, 28 degrees. Austin, 26 degrees. El Paso, you're actually going to be relatively warm compared to the rest of the state, around 38 degrees. But Dallas, Houston, that's 16 and 27, those are serious numbers. Especially Dallas. You've been dealing with this cold for days now. Arkansas, you just broke that incredible snowfall record in Little Rock. Tomorrow morning, 17 degrees. Fayetteville, 10 degrees. Fort Smith, 14 degrees. Jonesboro, 12 degrees. And here's what you need to know. That snow on the ground is going to stick around for a while because we're not getting warm enough to melt it. Let me jump up to Tennessee because this is where things get really serious. Memphis, 14 degrees tomorrow morning. Nashville, 5 degrees. Knoxville, 11 degrees. Chattanooga, 13 degrees. Clarksville, 7 degrees. Nashville, I know you've been dealing with massive power outages. Half your grid went down, and now 5 degrees tomorrow morning. Please, if you have neighbors who are elderly or vulnerable, check on them. This is dangerous. Kentucky, you're in the same boat. Louisville, 7 degrees tomorrow morning. Lexington, 5 degrees. Bowling Green, 8 degrees. Paducah, 10 degrees. Covington, right across from Cincinnati, 6 degrees. That's Arctic air for Kentucky. Now let me shift gears for a second because I want to talk about the Carolinas. This is the region that could potentially see the biggest impact from this next storm system coming at the end of the week. Charlotte, North Carolina. Tomorrow you're looking at 19 degrees. Raleigh, 22 degrees. Greensboro, 18 degrees. Asheville up in the mountains, 14 degrees. Wilmington on the coast, 28 degrees. But Saturday into Sunday, you've got about a 50% chance of seeing significant snow. If this European model is right, we're talking potentially 6 to 10 inches for interior sections. That's not set in stone yet. We'll know which model is right by tomorrow morning's model runs. South Carolina, let's talk. Charleston, 29 degrees tomorrow morning. Columbia, 21 degrees. Greenville, 17 degrees. Myrtle Beach, 31 degrees. Spartanburg, 16 degrees. And once again, if that storm system develops like the European model is showing, the Piedmont region could see significant snowfall Saturday night into Sunday. Virginia, you're not off the hook either. Richmond, 23 degrees tomorrow. Norfolk, 28 degrees. Roanoke, 17 degrees. Virginia Beach, 29 degrees. Charlottesville, 19 degrees. And you guys in the western part of the state, up in the mountains, you could see heavy snow with this next system if it materializes. All right, let me jump up to the mid-Atlantic. Washington, D.C., 24 degrees tomorrow morning. Baltimore, 22 degrees. Annapolis, 24 degrees. Frederick, Maryland, 18 degrees. And here's what's interesting about D.C. and Baltimore. You guys could be right on that rain-snow line with the next storm. If it tracks just a little bit to the west, you get mostly rain. If it tracks to the east, you could see significant snow. We're about 48 hours away from high confidence on that. Pennsylvania, you just got destroyed by this last storm. Philadelphia, 23 degrees tomorrow. Pittsburgh, 14 degrees. Harrisburg, 19 degrees. Allentown, 18 degrees. Erie, up on Lake Erie, 9 degrees, and you're going to get hammered with lake-effect snow over the next several days. State College, 16 degrees. Reading, 20 degrees. The entire state is buried under snow right now, and you're not melting anytime soon. New Jersey got hit hard too. Newark, 24 degrees tomorrow. Trenton, 22 degrees. Atlantic City, 27 degrees. Paterson, 23 degrees. Jersey City, 25 degrees. Northern New Jersey saw over 20 inches of snow in some spots. That's incredible for that area. New York, let's break you down. New York City, 26 degrees tomorrow morning. Buffalo, 8 degrees. Rochester, 9 degrees. Syracuse, 10 degrees. Albany, 12 degrees. Yonkers, 25 degrees. And Buffalo, Rochester, Syracuse, you guys are about to get pounded with lake-effect snow. We're talking potentially another foot or more over the next 3 to 4 days as this cold air screams across Lake Erie and Lake Ontario. Connecticut got significant snow too. Hartford, 18 degrees tomorrow. New Haven, 22 degrees. Bridgeport, 24 degrees. Stamford, 25 degrees. Waterbury, 19 degrees. And you guys could see more snow with these clipper systems coming through. Rhode Island and Massachusetts, you overperformed on snowfall totals. Providence, 21 degrees tomorrow. Boston, 19 degrees. Worcester, 15 degrees. Springfield, 16 degrees. Lowell, 18 degrees. Cambridge, 19 degrees. Boston, we talked about potentially 2 feet of snow. You're right there. With the snow squalls still coming through today, you might actually hit that mark. Tomorrow morning, 9 degrees. That's brutal. Let me jump over to the Midwest because you guys are the source of all this cold air. Chicago, 12 degrees tomorrow morning. Milwaukee, 9 degrees. Detroit, 11 degrees. Cleveland, 13 degrees. Indianapolis, 9 degrees. Columbus, Ohio, 12 degrees. Cincinnati, 8 degrees. And unfortunately for you guys, you're going to continue to be the highway for this Arctic air as it pours down from Canada. Minnesota and Wisconsin, you're in the deep freeze. Minneapolis, -2 degrees tomorrow morning. Yes, -2. St. Paul, -1. Duluth, -8. Madison, Wisconsin, 4 degrees. Green Bay, 3 degrees. This is where the polar vortex lobe is positioned right now, and you guys are feeling the full force of it. Iowa, you're right there with them. Des Moines, 3 degrees tomorrow. Cedar Rapids, 1 degree. Davenport, 4 degrees. Sioux City, 0 degrees. Iowa City, 2 degrees. That's dangerous cold. Let me talk about the Northern Plains real quick. Bismarck, North Dakota, -5 degrees tomorrow. Fargo, -3. Sioux Falls, South Dakota, 1 degree. Rapid City, 15 degrees. Omaha, Nebraska, 7 degrees. Lincoln, Nebraska, 8 degrees. This is the source region for all this Arctic air, and it's not done yet. We've got more cold coming. Kansas and Missouri, you're getting hit too. Kansas City, 12 degrees tomorrow. Wichita, 16 degrees. Topeka, 13 degrees. St. Louis, 10 degrees. Springfield, Missouri, 14 degrees. Columbia, Missouri, 11 degrees. And once again, this cold is going to be persistent. We're not warming up quickly. Now, let me address the Southeast more broadly because I know a lot of you are wondering about this next storm system. Georgia, tomorrow you're looking at cold, but not as extreme as areas farther north. Atlanta, 24 degrees. Savannah, 32 degrees. Augusta, 26 degrees. Macon, 24 degrees. Columbus, Georgia, 23 degrees. But Sunday morning, that next Arctic blast, you could see temperatures in the teens. And if that storm develops, there's an outside chance of snow Saturday night. Right now, I'd put that probability around 20 to 30% for the Atlanta metro area. But things could still change. Alabama. We talked about Mobile already. Birmingham, 18 degrees tomorrow. Montgomery, 22 degrees. Huntsville, 15 degrees. Tuscaloosa, 19 degrees. And Huntsville, you're far enough north that if this next storm trends westward, You could see accumulating snow Saturday night into Sunday. Florida, you're not escaping this either. Jacksonville, 30 degrees tomorrow. Orlando, 38 degrees. Tampa, 42 degrees. Miami, 52 degrees. But by Sunday morning, with that next Arctic blast, Jacksonville, you could be in the low 20s. Orlando, you could be near freezing. Tampa, low 30s. Even Miami, you could drop into the upper 40s. For South Florida, that's legitimately cold. Let me jump back to the Ohio Valley for a second because there's something I need to clarify. The models are not in agreement right now on this next storm system. The American model, the GFS, says the storm stays mostly offshore, impacts the immediate coast, maybe some snow for coastal New England, but that's about it. The European model says the storm is more powerful, tracks farther west, brings significant snow to the interior sections from the Carolinas all the way up through Pennsylvania and New York. That's a massive difference. We're talking about the difference between a few million people getting snow versus 20 or 30 million people getting snow. Which one is right? We don't know exactly yet. We're about 48 hours away from high confidence. But based on the pattern, based on how the last storm evolved, based on what I'm seeing with the upper-level dynamics, I'm leaning toward the European solution. But I could be wrong. Models can be wrong. Forecasts change. Check back tomorrow because we'll have much better data by tomorrow morning's model runs. Don't skip ahead. You need to hear this next part about the lake effect snow because this is going to be significant. Buffalo, you're looking at potentially 12 to 18 inches over the next 3 days. Rochester, 8 to 14 inches. Syracuse, 10 to 16 inches. Watertown, New York, you could see over 20 inches. Erie, Pennsylvania, 12 to 20 inches. This is going to be relentless. Band after band of heavy snow coming off Lake Erie and Lake Ontario. If you're in one of these cities, you know the drill. But this is going to be a prolonged event. We're not talking about one day. We're talking about 3, maybe 4 days of consistent lake effect snow. And here's the kicker. At some point, these lakes are going to freeze over. When that happens, the lake effect machine shuts down. But we're not there yet. The lakes are still relatively warm compared to this Arctic air, which means they're going to continue to produce heavy snow. All right, let me talk about the West Coast for a minute because you guys are living in a completely different weather pattern. Los Angeles, 76 degrees tomorrow. San Diego, 72 degrees. San Francisco, 62 degrees. Phoenix, 78 degrees. Tucson, 80 degrees. Las Vegas, 74 degrees. You guys are under this persistent ridge of high pressure. While the East Coast freezes, you're enjoying beautiful weather. And this pattern is not changing anytime soon. If anything, we might see temperatures in Southern California reaching the low 80s over the next week. Seattle and Portland, you're a little bit different. Seattle, 48 degrees tomorrow with some rain. Portland, 51 degrees with showers. You guys are in the storm track, getting these Pacific systems, but they're warm storms. No snow for the lowlands, just rain. Now here's where I want to get into some of the technical details because I think it's important to understand why this pattern is so persistent. We have what's called an amplified pattern. That means the jet stream has these big north-south swings instead of flowing relatively straight west to east. When you have an amplified pattern, it tends to be very stubborn. It doesn't want to change. We've got a deep trough over the eastern part of the country, which is why we're so cold. We've got a strong ridge over the western part of the country, which is why they're so warm. And this setup can persist for weeks. The 500 millibar heights, which is basically a measure of the height of the atmosphere at the mid-levels, they're showing anomalously low heights over the east and anomalously high heights over the west. That's why this pattern is so locked in. Now, eventually, this will break down. All patterns do. But right now, I'm not seeing any signs of a significant pattern change through at least the next 10 days. Almost there, and the best part is coming up in 1 minute. Let me talk about the humanitarian aspect of this for a second because I think it's really important. We've got 847,000 people without power as of this morning, many of them in single-digit temperatures. Some of these folks won't see their power restored for a week or 2 weeks. That is a crisis. If you're in one of these affected areas and you have power, please consider opening your home to neighbors who don't. This is the kind of cold that can be deadly, and unfortunately, the cold that's already in place is only going to get worse before it gets better. We're not talking about a quick warm-up. We're talking about potentially another week of below-average temperatures. And if this next storm system develops like the European model is showing, we could be right back in the same situation we were in last week. Power outages, travel chaos, dangerous conditions. Now, I don't want to scare you. This might not happen. The models could be overdoing it. But if it does happen, here's what you need to know. This would likely occur Saturday night into Sunday. If you're in the path of this potential storm, the Carolinas, Virginia, the Mid-Atlantic, the Northeast, make sure you have supplies. Make sure you have a way to heat your home if the power goes out. Make sure you have enough food and water. Because if we learned anything from this last storm, it's that these systems can be more impactful than anyone expects. Let me wrap this up with the key takeaways. Tomorrow morning is going to be brutally cold, single digits and teens across much of the South, below zero in parts of the northern plains and upper Midwest. This cold is going to persist through the weekend and into early next week. We have another potential winter storm developing for next weekend, Saturday, January 31st into Sunday, February 1st. The models are not in agreement on the exact track and intensity, but this is something we absolutely need to watch. If the European model is correct, we're looking at significant snow from the Carolinas up through the Northeast. If the GFS is correct, this stays mostly offshore, and impacts are minimal. We'll know which model is right by tomorrow morning. Lake effect snow is going to be relentless for areas downwind of Lake Erie and Lake Ontario over the next several days. Some spots could see over 20 inches. Now, things could still change. We're still 5 days away from this next potential system. That's enough time for the models to shift significantly. But the pattern supports another storm. The cold air is going to be in place. The Gulf moisture is going to be there. The upper-level dynamics look favorable, so this is not something we can ignore. Check back tomorrow morning because I'm revealing the latest model runs, and I'm going to show you something that honestly has me surprised. The overnight models are suggesting a potential track that nobody was expecting. If you're in the Mid-Atlantic, you absolutely need to see what the latest European model is showing. It's not what anyone anticipated. I'm not going to reveal it now because I want to make sure I have all the data before I start throwing around specific numbers. But let's just say if this verifies, we're talking about a major impact for millions of people. Comment your city below, and I'll have personalized details for you tomorrow. I'm reading every single one. I want to help you specifically prepare for what's coming. Whether you're in Miami wondering if you need to protect your plants, or you're in Buffalo preparing for another foot of lake effect snow, drop your location and I'll give you the information you need. Thank you for trusting me to keep you informed during this difficult weather pattern. I know this has been a tough week for a lot of people. Power outages, dangerous, cold, travel chaos, but we're going to get through this together. And I'm going to be here every single day giving you the most accurate, up-to-date information I possibly can. Next update is tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Eastern. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss it. We're going to have a lot to talk about with these new model runs. Stay warm, stay safe, check on your neighbors, and I'll see you in the next video.